Right. So, in previous session, as far as the Pega BPM application itself is concerned, we have discussed even about the workflows, followed by data model, user experiences, all that. Wherein today I'm going to explain you about the settings part, because when it comes to the application development, when we are working on, especially when we are implementing any application using a business process management tool called Pega, being a business analyst role majorly or an admin role, because BA roles are mainly even connected as an admin role also, like some settings and all everything are something which being a BA or an admin one has to be performed with. In this regard, so there are different settings which we have to do. So the first one about the general settings, because general settings majorly focusing on the regular payment processing, whatever we do, followed by the work executions, etc. All these things are comes under the general settings. This is a basic configuration which is required for any application to perform, because if developer wants to write any kind of code, no code platform, as far as the Pega development is concerned. So whenever we are working on the application, it's always important for us to perform some basic configuration about authentications and authorizations, made in making some changes in the case prefix or something of that sort, right? Or else if you want to create or enable any kind of search engine optimizations, right? So to make it more easier. At the same time, if you want to connect to any kind of assignment processing, like if you want to display any kind of custom views, or else if you want to enable any kind of next work associates, so that can be done. At the same time, even Pega client for Windows compatibility can also be done in this regard. This is all something comes under the general settings, which normally we have to do. These are the basic settings one can be done. Next settings when it comes to the attachments, because for example, if you want to attach any kind of category, so there will be of different categories we have, right? So we can initiate any kind of categories what we have created already. For example, if there is any kind of categories were created, right? So if you want to add any kind of category, especially to the existing ones and all everything, so we can add the categories. Make sure we need to add the categories before you are working on the project. So categories has to be initiated first. Categories has to be created. So once we have created the categories, those categories can be added as an attachment in this regard. This has a limited existence. I don't say that these categories may be required for all the projects. Depends on the kind of modules we are creating, especially for the project. Because if you have taken a point of sale system, there are different modules you may be having, right? Either it can be inventory management or order processing, or at the same time payment processing, right? So different things. So attachments of categories can be added into this. Next is auditing part. It is about auditing, right? So because if there is any kind of configuring field level auditing, if you want to perform, normally auditing more or less like admin kind of role, I can see. Not being a business analyst, we will not be getting into the auditing part. This will be majorly taken care of by the admin people. Admin people will be taken care of all that. Next, if you want to manage any kind of default resources, for example, if there is any kind of, let's say, payment processing is a default resource we have taken. Now, if you want to create any kind of field or any constant and all everything, so this is what something which we have to be selected over here. You need to select the payment processing list, right? So everything we can select, and default resources can be saved here. We can save and run. We have that provision, default resources. And if you want to add any kind of, apart from any other default resources we have taken, we can take it. But as far as the application itself is concerned, as we have already seen, payment processing is one workflow, right, which we have taken into consideration. Hence, this default resources we can save for payment processing as usual. Whatever we have taken was the same. That same thing will be continued here. Next is there any kind of general AI approaches, right? So for example, if there is any kind of AI approaches which is to be performed here, so that can be performed here, right? So general AI approaches, we can do it, right? So because any general AI approaches, if you want to enable, right? If you want to add any kind of case types or something of that sort, everything can be added here. This is where generally Gen AI approaches or coaches, everything will be coming into picture. Next, goal and deadline means if you want to define any kind of goals or deadlines for the project, right? Because if you want to resolve any kind of requirements, right? So because normally based on the service level agreement is what something we have to create. Based on the service level agreement, what we have created, there will be some goal and deadline will be mentioned on the service level agreement. This is an agreement normally happen between the client and vendor. So if there is any kind of goal deadline, is there anything of that sort, right? If you are customize any service level agreements, right? So when this is can be completed, right? So what are our goals, right? So in how many days this can be executed, or else at the same time, if you have any existing service level agreements, for example, in the service level agreement, there will be some duration will be identified and decided by us. So based on that, generally these goals and deadlines and all everything will be selected. This is where generally goals and deadlines comes into picture. Next, if you want to manage any kind of locking procedures, for example, if you want to manage, because normally users are the one who are going to use the application, not to manage the application. Managing of application will be taken care of by other people because admin people, backend people will be taken care of. If you want to manage any kind of concurrent accesses and all everything, especially for the case of relating to payment processing, because that's what generally the example we have taken. The kind of strategy what we are making it, right? So are we allowing only users to use it, or is there any kind of multiple users who are involved in it? All these things are comes under the locking procedures. So these are the major things. Of course, there were many. This I'm going to discuss in the coming session. When it comes to the settings part, in reference to the App Studio is concerned, basic general settings has to be performed by the BA, of course, by the admin team, etc. At the same time, if there is any kind of attachment categories or auditing procedures, majorly admin people will look after, not by the BA. Next, default data resources. Is there any kind of default data resources which was created can be taken away? Next, at the same time, general AI coaches. Now and then it is added recently. It was not so prominent nowadays. Maybe in future it may have. Next, goals and deadlines based on the service level agreement what we have signed between customer to customer with the vendor, right? So that's where generally these goals and deadlines defining etc. can be done. Next, locking, of course, because users are used. Users are there to use the application, not to repair. So that's the reason why this is where generally locking comes into picture. So these are the major aspects and conduct comes under the setting part. One has to be done. Remaining things I'm going to explain in tomorrow's session. Okay. See you then. Bye.